Who's rocking that toddy body? Hello and welcome to Intoxicated Masculinity. If it's Wednesday, we've got a cocktail video for you. Today we're doing the Hot Toddy. It's definitely the oldest cocktail we've done on this channel, one of the oldest cocktails in the world. And it's sort of in furtherance this February, while it's cold where I am and maybe cold where you are, of doing hot cocktails. The Toddy is sort of a tough one to nail down. The cocktail is about 270 years old. Started off in the 1750s. And the base of the cocktail is essentially a sweetener, a spirit, and hot water. Which sort of sounds like something that could be kind of a boring cocktail, but it actually is really, really interesting. And it's so old. The earliest recipe we have, we go back to Jarry Thomas and the Bomb of Ounce Scotch, or How to Mix Drinks, from 1862. But the thing to remember is when Jarry Thomas wrote that book in 1862, the Hot Toddy was already a little over 100 years old. So we're gonna do a takeoff on Jarry Thomas's original recipe, and we're gonna do two other variations. The thing that's really great about this cocktail is this, maybe more than any other cocktail, invites you to kind of do your own thing, experiment. It's a spirit, some hot water, a sweetener, and then you can put in some kind of thing to change it up a little bit, a flavor enhancer, whatever you want. So now that we know a little bit about the history of the cocktail, let's go ahead and make a couple of them and see what we think. All right, and we're back with ingredients. So the first one we're going to do is the takeoff on Jarry Thomas's original recipe, or I say original, from his book in 1862. Again, the original recipe, who knows. So we're going to use Demerara sugar, and we're just going to do 1 teaspoon. So 1 teaspoon in the glass. If you don't have a set of measuring spoons, then go get some. Come on, they're cheap. We're going to toss in 2 ounces of our scotch. In this case, I'm using Talisker Storm. You can really use whatever scotch you want in this cocktail. I think it lends itself well to peated cocktails, smoky cocktails. I think it kind of brings out the best in this particular drink. But you don't have to do that, but you can go for a Highland, you could go for a Speyside, anything you want. I like Talisker because it's got that kind of brininess. It's a nice scotch in this. All right, the next one we're going to do is a apple toddy. So we're going to use about 3/4 of an ounce of a cinnamon infused simple syrup, which is really, really tasty. That's a good syrup to just kind of keep around. It's good in a lot of different things, especially toddies. And then we are going to use 2 ounces of our Laird's Blackjack. I'm using the 86. You could use the bottled in bond if you prefer that. It's entirely up to you. Again, this cocktail very much lends itself to kind of self-expression. All right, so there we have our apple toddy. And finally, we're going to do a Brandy Toddy. So we're going to start off with Demerara simple syrup. So this is a 2-to-1 Demerara simple syrup. We're going to use 1/2 ounce of that. We're going to grab some of our freshly squeezed lemon juice, and we're going to go for 1/2 ounce of that. And obviously, finish off. We're going to use. We're actually using a Cognac. We're going to use our old friend Courvoisier VSOP. We're going to toss in 2 ounces. If you want to sort of even out these out a little bit, you could use 1.5 ounces instead of 2 ounces, but I'm never going to recommend less booze. Alright, so we have our recipes in here. The only thing we're missing is the last and most important ingredient of a hot toddy, the hot part. By the way, it should be stated that toddies aren't always necessarily hot, especially back in the early days of the cocktail. Oftentimes people would have a hot toddy when it was cold out, and then a cold toddy when it was warm or when it was hot out. So you don't necessarily have to have these hot, but in this case it's February, so I'm having them hot. All right, let's get some hot water and hot water. All right, so we're going to kind of do the same thing we did with the coffees. I'm just going to put the water in each one. Now you could measure this out. We got roughly 2 ounces in each one of these, 2.5 ounces. So we're going to want to double that with water. If you do, I would use a jigger like this, because if you try to use your standard jigger, this is metal, gets hot, it's going to burn you. That being said, I'm just gonna free pour these, and I kind of know where the 6 ounce line is, so go ahead and dump in there. Our apple and our brandy. And to the magic of video editing, I have bar spoons. Now, the only one you really have to worry about on this at all is the Demerara sugar is kind of a little tough to melt or to dissolve into the cocktail. So that one you kind of want to just disperse it a little bit. I kind of continue this throughout having the drink a little bit. The other two, they're not going to have that problem at all. We're just going to give them just a real quick whip. And the dog apparently wants a hot toddy as well. All right, let's start off with our traditional Jerry Thomas Scotch hot toddy. So in the lead up to this, I tried a bunch of different toddy recipes. It was a really tough day, let me tell you. I didn't think I was going to like this, and I didn't originally plan on even including it in this video until I tasted it. This is fantastic. It's such a simple cocktail. It's just sugar, scotch, and water. I feel like the sugar is bringing more out of the scotch. And the warmth, brings another dimension to it. It's just great. It's bringing in that sort of brininess that the Talisker has. A little bit of smoke. It's very spiced. Not overly sweet, but there is a sweet element there, obviously, with the Demerara. Yeah, this is great. Maybe the simplest cocktail I've ever made, and it holds up great. All right, so now we try our apple. It's really good. This was kind of a no-brainer. Having a cinnamon simple syrup is a great thing to just have around because cinnamon goes well in a lot of things, and it's going to go great with Applejack because, apple cinnamon's a very well-known great flavor. So it just tastes like an apple cinnamon hot drink. It's like a cider, but it's not really thick. You do have a little bit of that simple syrup in there, but we're only using 3/4 of an ounce in a fairly reasonable sized cocktail. So the sugar's adding a little bit of mouthfeel to it, but it's not overly sweetened by any means. Yeah, just really good. If you like a cider and you want something a little bit different, it's just got. I think it brings out some more dimensions, and it's a really great flavor. All right, and on to our Brandy Toddy, or in this case, our Cognac Toddy. This one's really good. It's sort of different. It tastes a little medicinal, but not in a bad way. This is very much something if you are not feeling well, if you have a sore throat, like you might be able to tell I have kind of a sore throat today. It just feels great to your sore throat. The lemon and the sweetness go down, and the brandy brings a nice kind of, there's some oak there, some fruitiness. It's just great. It makes you want to just curl up by a fireplace and watch a great movie. Overall, I'm not going to decide between these. I like all of them for very different reasons. Our traditional Scotch Old Fashioned, or excuse me, our traditional Scotch Toddy is incredibly simple, but brings out a bunch of layers to the Scotch. And I think that even if you don't like Scotch, I think you'd be surprised how much you like this. It's just great. It's rich, but it's also still fairly got a fairly thin mouthfeel. It's not overly thick. I know for me, a lot of times I kind of hate over-sweetened cocktails. You get that kind of sickly, sugary kind of flavor. You don't get that at all. It's very clean and very refreshing. Yeah, it's like a cider but better. Again, it doesn't have that sort of thickness that a cider has. It's a little thinner. It's not an unthick mouthfeel, but not like a cider is. And then finally our cognac. Yeah, this would go good. I saw some people would topping this with tea, and that would do very well. I heard a black tea. One other thing that I had forgot to do originally. Typically, toddies are served with a little bit of nutmeg, freshly grated nutmeg on top. So now we'll go through and taste these one last time, just with the nutmeg, because I think it does add another dimension. Yeah, it just adds a little bit of spice right there at the end. It just makes an already good cocktail a little bit better. Very much the same. I think it probably helps out the Scotch toddy a little bit more because it just brings a new element. And there's already so few elements in the cocktail that one little extra thing really makes a difference. I think you could probably forget it in the Cognac or the Brandy Toddy. There's already enough there going on that one other element isn't really doing a lot of heavy lifting. So you could probably forget it in here. You could put it in; it's fine either way. But I think I would definitely remember it in your Scotch Hot Toddy. All right, so these are the three that I tried and liked a lot. I did also do a bourbon and a rum toddy that I didn't particularly like. So I'll probably work on those a little bit more, and we might bring those back at the end of the month, but we'll have to see what's going on. So, and that being said, I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and stay warm out there. Have a good drink, and have a good day.